The average American gets a tax refund of about $3 grand every year and walks around thinking they nailed it, like they beat the system. Meanwhile, the IRS is sitting there going, hey, we literally published the rules that would let you keep thousands more, but sure, go celebrate your refund like you won the lottery. Here's the thing, that refund? That's not the government being generous. That's your own money coming back to you, because you overpaid all year long. You basically gave Uncle Sam an interest-free loan for 12 months and now you're excited he's returning part of it. That's like lending your neighbor your lawnmower in January and being thrilled when he brings it back in December. With a dull blade. But that's not even what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about something way worse. We're talking about the money you could legally, right now, shield from taxes. Money the IRS literally built a system for you to keep. And you're just not doing it. We're talking about potentially $13,000 or more per year that the tax code says you're allowed to protect. And most of you are leaving it on the table like a tip you forgot to pick up. The name's Frank. And frankly, the IRS gave you the cheat sheet and you still failed the test. If you're someone who's tired of handing the government more than you owe, hit subscribe. And if this video saves you even a few $100 on your next return, a thumbs up would be nice. So let me set the stage here. Everyone thinks they understand taxes. You work, you earn money, the government takes a chunk, and if you're lucky, your tax software spits out a refund in February. Maybe you even pay someone a few $100 to do your return. And you think, great, I'm covered. But here's where it falls apart. The tax code isn't just a list of what you owe. It's also a very long, very detailed list of what you're allowed to keep. And most people only know about, like, 2 things on that list. The standard deduction, and maybe, if they're fancy, their mortgage interest. That's it. That's the whole playbook for 90% of Americans. The IRS actually publishes data on this. According to their own numbers, roughly 90% of taxpayers just take the standard deduction and call it a day. Which, look, for a lot of people that's the right call. The standard deduction for 2025 is $15,750 if you're filing single. For married couples filing jointly, it's $31,500. That's not nothing. It's actually a pretty generous baseline. But here's what nobody tells you. The standard deduction is the floor. It's the starting point. There's an entire world of above-the-line deductions and tax advantage moves you can make on top of that. And they're not loopholes. They're not shady. They're literally in the tax code, with the IRS's blessing, designed to encourage you to do specific things with your money. Things that, conveniently, also happen to be really good for your financial future. Let me walk you through them. And I'm going to add these up as we go, because I want you to see how fast this number climbs. Number 1, your 401k. If your employer offers a 401k plan, every dollar you contribute on a pre-tax basis reduces your taxable income. The contribution limit for 2025 is $23,500. Now, I know what you're thinking. Frank, I can barely afford rent. I'm not putting $23,000 into a retirement account, and fair enough. But here's the part that makes me want to flip a table. A study from Financial Engines found that American workers leave an estimated $24 billion in unclaimed employer. 401k matches every single year. Billion. With a B, that's free money your employer is literally trying to hand you. And about a quarter of workers are just walking away from it. Let me be frank with you. If your employer offers to match your 401k contributions up to, say, 5% of your salary, and you're not contributing at least that 5%, you're turning down free money. That's like your boss walking up to you with a check and you saying, nah, I'm good. According to the Plan Sponsor Council of America, about 81% of companies with a 401k offer some kind of match. The most common formula is 50 cents on the dollar, up to 6% of your pay. So if you're making $60,000 a year and you contribute 6%, that's $3,600 from you, and your employer kicks in another $1,800. You just got an instant 50% return on your investment before the market even does anything. Let me give you a real scenario. Meet Sarah. She's 32, she works in marketing, makes $75,000 a year. Her company matches 50% of her contributions up to 6%. Sarah's been contributing 3% since she started because that's what the default was when she enrolled. She never changed it. So she's putting in about $2,200 a year, and her employer matches half of that, around $1,100. She's leaving another $1,100 on the table every year. Over a 30-year career, assuming a 7% average return, that unclaimed match alone costs her over $100,000 in retirement savings. $100,000, because she never logged into her benefits portal and changed a number from 3 to 6. But beyond the match, those pre-tax 401k contributions directly reduce your taxable income. Put in $10,000, and your taxable income drops by $10,000. If you're in the 22% tax bracket, that's $2,200 less you owe in federal taxes. And you didn't lose that money. It's sitting in your retirement account, growing. It's working for you 24 hours a day while you sleep, while you eat, while you binge watch whatever show you're into this month. So let's say, conservatively, you're contributing enough to get the full match and then some. We'll call it $10,000. That's $10,000 off your taxable income right there. Running total, $10,000. Number 2, the health savings account. If you have a high deductible health plan, and according to various employer surveys, somewhere around 30% of covered workers do, you're eligible for an HSA. And the HSA is, I'm not exaggerating here, the single most tax-advantaged account in the entire tax code. The IRS set the 2025 contribution limits at $4,300 for individuals and $8,550 for families. What makes the HSA special is the triple tax advantage. Your contributions are tax-deductible, so they reduce your taxable income just like a 401k. The money grows tax-free, and when you pull it out for qualified medical expenses, you pay zero tax on it. There's no other account in America that gives you a tax break going in, while it grows and coming out. Not your 401k, not your Roth IRA, nothing. And here's the kicker. You don't even have to use the money right away. You can let it sit there, invest it, let it compound for decades, and use it for healthcare costs in retirement. According to Devenir's research, there are over 37 million HSA accounts in the U.S. holding roughly $123 billion. But only about 8% of those accounts have any money invested. Most people are treating their HSA like a checking account for doctor visits, when it could be a stealth retirement account. Let me paint you a picture. You put $4,300 into your HSA every year, from age 30 to 65. You invest it, get a reasonable 7% return, and you pay for your medical expenses out of pocket instead of dipping into the HSA. By the time you're 65, that HSA has over $600,000 in it, tax-free for medical expenses. And after 65, you can pull it out for anything, not just medical. You'll just pay regular income tax on it like a traditional IRA. It's the Swiss Army knife of financial accounts, and most people are using it to buy Band-Aids. So let's add the individual HSA max to our running total. $4,300 off your taxable income. Running total, $14,300. Now we've already blown past that $13,000 number in the title, and we're only 2 items in. But I'm not done, not even close. Number 3, traditional IRA contributions. If you or your spouse don't have a retirement plan at work, or even if you do and your income is below certain thresholds, you can contribute to a traditional IRA and deduct it from your taxes. For 2025, the limit is $7,000. If you're 50 or older, it's $8,000. The IRS says the deduction is allowed in full if neither you nor your spouse is covered by a workplace retirement plan. If you're covered, the deduction phases out depending on your income, but for a lot of people, especially those who are self-employed or work for small businesses without a 401k, this is huge. $7,000 you can shelter from taxes while simultaneously building your retirement savings. Now, some of you are sitting there going, Frank, I already have a 401k. Can I do both? And the answer is, it depends on your income. But yes, many people can contribute to both. They just don't, because nobody told them they could. Number 4. And this one is brand new. The tax law that passed in July 2025 The one big beautiful bill introduced some deductions that a lot of people don't even know exist yet. If you work in a job where you earn tips, you can now deduct up to $25,000 of qualified tip income from your federal taxes. If you earn overtime pay that's required under the Fair Labor Standards Act, you can deduct up to $12,500 of that overtime premium. And if you're 65 or older, there's a new additional deduction of $6,000 per person on top of the existing standard deduction. Think about that for a second. If you're a server, a bartender, a hairstylist, or anyone in a tipped occupation and you're making decent tip income, you could be shielding up to 25 grand from federal income tax. That is massive. And for hourly workers pulling overtime, the $12,500 deduction could mean the difference between jumping a tax bracket or staying where you are. These deductions are available to both itemizers and non-itemizers. You don't need to do anything fancy. You just need to know they exist. And they're temporary, running from 2025 through 2028, so there's a window here. Number 5, student loan interest. This one's been around for a while, but people still miss it. If you're paying off student loans, you can deduct up to $2,500 in interest per year. It's an above-the-line deduction, which means you get it whether you itemize or not. It phases out at higher incomes, but for most people in their 20s and 30s still chipping away at their loans, this is available and it's free. You're already paying the interest. Might as well get a tax break for it. Number 6, the above-the-line charitable deduction. Starting in 2026, the new tax law permanently reinstates an above-the-line deduction for charitable giving, even if you take the standard deduction. Up to $1,000 for single filers, $2,000 for married filing jointly. Now, $1,000 isn't going to change your life, but it's $1,000 you didn't have before. And it stacks on top of everything else. Number 7. This one isn't technically a deduction, but it puts money directly back in your pocket. Tax credits. And I need to spend some time on this because the amount of money people leave unclaimed in tax credits every year is frankly obscene. Let's start with the Earned Income Tax Credit, the EITC. The IRS themselves estimate that about 1 in 5 eligible taxpayers fails to claim it every year. According to a Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago analysis, the average unclaimed EITC is about $1,500 per household, and the total unclaimed amount was over $11 billion in a single year. $11 billion that working families were entitled to and just didn't claim. The maximum EITs for 2025 is over $8,000 if you have 3 or more qualifying children. Even if you don't have kids, you might be eligible for a smaller credit. But you have to actually file and claim it. Then there's the Child Tax Credit. The American Opportunity Tax Credit for college expenses, worth up to $2,500 per student. The Savers Credit for low and moderate income workers who contribute to a retirement account. The Child and Dependent Care Credit for daycare expenses. Each one of these can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, and each one requires you to know it exists and actually claim it. A U.S. Treasury analysis showed that 5.4 million eligible taxpayers failed to claim the Earned Income Tax Credit in 2020 alone, leaving $7.6 billion unclaimed. And that's just one credit. So let me ask you something. How much money are you leaving on the table right now? Because when I add all this up, here's what a regular person could potentially be sheltering or claiming back. 401k contributions, let's say $10,000 to start. HSA, $4,300. IRA, on top of that if you're eligible, $7,000. Student loan interest, $2,500. New charitable deduction, $1,000. Tips or overtime deductions if applicable. Potentially thousands more. Tax credits like the EITC or child tax credit. Potentially thousands back in your pocket. For a married couple, both working and both contributing to their retirement accounts and HSAs, we could be talking about $40,000, $50,000, even $60,000 in combined deductions and tax advantage moves. That is not a small number. At a 22% marginal tax rate, $40,000 in deductions saves you $8,800 in federal income tax every single year. And here's what really gets me. The IRS doesn't hide this stuff. It's not a secret. It's all in Publication 501 and Publication 59, OA, and a dozen other documents you can pull up right now for free on irs.gov. The tax code is complicated, sure, but the basics aren't. And the basics are where most of the money is. So why don't people do this? A few reasons, and none of them are good. First, nobody teaches this. Not in school, not at work, not anywhere. You learn about the Pythagorean theorem and the mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell, but somehow we skip the part about how to keep more of the money you earn. It's insane. Second, people are intimidated. The tax code is long. It's boring. It's written in a language that seems specifically designed to make your eyes glaze over. So people just take the standard deduction, use whatever default settings their HR department set up, and hope for the best. That's like buying a car with 100 features and only ever using the radio. Third, and this one kills me, people don't want to contribute to things like a 401k or an HSA because they think they can't afford to. But here's the math they're not doing. If you're in the 22% bracket and you put $5,000 into your 401k, your paycheck doesn't drop by $5,000. It drops by about $3,900 because you saved $1,100 in taxes. You got a 22% discount on saving for your own future. The government is literally paying you to save money, and you're saying no thanks? That's like a grocery store having a permanent 22% off sale on your retirement, and you walking right past it to pay full price for, I don't know, a boat you'll use twice. Now here's the trap I see people fall into, and I need to talk about this because it's important. Some people hear all this and go overboard. They max out every account, throw money at every deduction, and then they can't make rent. That's not what I'm saying. The goal is not to shield every possible dollar from taxes. The goal is to make sure you're not being stupid about it. Start with the 401k match. If you're not getting the full match, that's step 1. That's the lowest hanging fruit in all of personal finance. Step 2, if you have a high deductible health plan, open an HSA and start contributing. Even $50 a month adds up. Step 3, look into whether you're eligible for credits like the EITC or the education credits. Step 4, if you earn tips or overtime, talk to your tax preparer about the new deductions from the 2025 tax law. You don't have to do everything at once, but you have to do something. Because right now, if you're like most Americans, you're essentially writing the IRS a check for more than you owe every single year, and then celebrating when they give part of it back. And here's one more thing that needs to be said. The National Taxpayers Union Foundation found that Americans in the 2025 tax year spent over 7 billion hours on tax-related paperwork and about $148 billion in filing expenses. $148 billion. We're spending $148 billion to figure out how much money to give the government, and we're still doing it wrong. The system is broken, but within that broken system, there are tools available to you. Right now. Today. Look, I get it. Nobody taught you this stuff. The tax code is a mess. Half the time, even the professionals get confused. But that's exactly why you're watching this. And that's exactly why knowing even the basics puts you ahead of like 75% of the population. The IRS lets you keep more money than you think. A lot more. The standard deduction is your baseline, not your ceiling. Above-the-line deductions like 401k contributions, HSA contributions, IRA contributions, and student loan interest reduce your taxable income before anything else even happens. The new tax law added deductions for tips, overtime, and seniors that most people haven't even heard of yet. And tax credits like the EITC can put actual cash back in your pocket, but only if you claim them. You're not broke because you don't earn enough. You might be broke because you don't keep enough. And the difference between those two things is everything. I talk to a lot of people about money. And the most common thing I hear is, I'll start saving when I make more. I'll figure out the tax stuff when I have more money to protect. That's backwards. That's completely, totally backwards. The time to figure this out is now. When you're making 50 or 60 or 70 grand, not when you're making 200. Because the habits you build now are the habits that carry you through. And the money you shield from taxes now is the money that compounds for the next 20 or 30 years. Let me put it this way. If you start sheltering an extra $5,000 a year from taxes at age 30, and you invest those tax savings at a modest 7% return, by the time you're 60, you've got over $500,000 from money you would have otherwise handed to the government, from money that was yours all along. So run your numbers. Open that 401k enrollment form that's been sitting in your email. Log into your HSA and see if you can bump up your contribution by even $100 a month. Pull up your last tax return and check if you missed any credits. If you earn tips or work overtime, call your tax preparer this week and ask about the new deductions. Do the math. I'll wait. You're not dumb. You're not lazy. You were just never given the playbook. Well, now you have it. The IRS put the rules in writing. Your employer might be trying to hand you free money right now. The tax code, for all its flaws, even has built-in tools designed to reward you for doing smart things with your money. All you have to do is actually use them. Because frankly, the money is right there. It's been there the whole time. Now go pick it up.